All right, everyone, based on what I'm seeing, like when he was speaking the other day, the fact that he's still holding large numbers of rallies, weather permitting and so forth, I am inclined to believe that Donald Trump leans heavily towards wanting to run in 2024. Link in the description. He's already menacing Cuomo, who I think he still envisions might have Democratic Party aspirations. Cuomo, by the way, would technically be near the top of the list. Biden clearly won't be the candidate. If he is, he loses automatically because he's he's not going to be capable of campaigning. Kamala Harris has a likability rating in the Democratic Party probably lower than many Republicans would. And Cuomo is a sleazebag, but somehow he's managed to get away with killing 15,000 people, writing a best-selling book about it, and calling himself the COVID king, while also having like a dozen Me Too accusations against him. Somehow his career has been assured. He's another Teflon Don. He's sort of like Clinton-esque. Trump, I think, will run. Or at least, again, there are several things that could stop that from happening. Number one, Biden resigns, or is 25th. The problem is that Trump would be the same age that Biden was when he was elected. The opponent would be younger, and the contrast would be there. That would not be helpful. I think Trump would be wise to lean against running and simply coronate someone as his candidate of choice, DeSantis or whoever, if that happens. Number two would be a health issue for Trump. He has an aneurysm like Biden's had 2 or 3 times. He has a fall, or he dies or something. I mean, he is in his mid-70s. All things considered, he seems to be in good health. So I'm assuming that's probably not going to happen. I assume that he'll probably outlive Joe Biden because Biden is clearly stumbling his way into a dementia haze. Dementia can advance quite quickly. We literally get to see that on a weekly basis. It's becoming more common for Joe Biden to say and do weird things. You ain't seen nothing yet. I half expect him to pull a turd out of his ass at his next speech and mistake it for a chocolate bar like dementia patients sometimes do. If he runs, Donald Trump that is, I will support him. I'd vote for him in a heartbeat. And it goes beyond the policy and stuff. One part of it, I just like the bluster. I like having someone who's not completely there when it comes to self-control. I think it's nicer to have someone simply give their opinion. It may be brash or crude at times, but I think that that's actually helpful. And number two, it would help to continue to inoculate the population against politically correct bullshit. Because having a presidential figure openly ignore the nonstop barrage of leftoid, you're a bigot, you're a sexist, you're homophobic, which is never truly based on reality. But a lot of politicians and social leaders, they'll take the knee and apologize profusely. They'll back off when the mob comes for them. Trump gave people an example. You don't actually have to do that and you can still win. And I think that that's probably the greatest thing that Donald Trump did during his entire presidency also. I liked having a president who understood economics, as opposed to Joe Biden, who thinks that printing $3.5 trillion more will totally lower inflation. I think that Joe Biden is absolutely nuts. Certainly, if Joe Biden were his opponent, there's no chance in hell I'd vote for him. Joe Biden, the honkler-in-chief, the asterisk administration, almost screwed up the Afghan withdrawal. Now the Iraqis, by the way, are bitching about our troops there. We should probably leave there as well, but Joe Biden likes to blow things up, so we'd still be maintaining an advisory presence, at least, I'm sure. Mass inflation that I imagine will probably tick up again for this month once we get those numbers. Unemployment ticking back up. Yeah, Biden presidency, really great thing. And it's back to the doldrums of political correctness because the government now keeps mollycoddling the fanatics, the literal communists, the social justice warriors, the cringe fringe. The sort of people who have the enormous black glasses and pink hair who lecture you constantly about how problematic you are. Exactly the kind of people involved in promoting CRT, critical race theory shorthand, wokeness and things like that are steadily destroying elements of traditional U.S. culture. I don't mean tradition like, well, my God, guns and glory. No, I mean like, as in things that are actually good and entertaining, like fucking rock music. They're ruining that. They're ruining, movie franchises, TV shows, sports. I don't care about sports, but a lot of people do. That's the fruit of commie labor, essentially. They can't create anything, so they just want to destroy everything good and wholesome in the world. Once people are miserable enough, they won't care about communism because they won't notice the difference. Anyway, I hope he runs. I like his economic plan. I like the way that he talks. I like the way that he carries himself. And I would love another 4 years of nonstop transparent propaganda because it's also killing off the legacy media. Let them try to censor things. Every time they apply new layers of censorship on the internet, evolution occurs. This happened, by the way, before. It happened. All the big tech sites that right now will kick people off for unpopular opinions were basically libertarian sites before. They were hammered for years by television shows, the nightly news would say, oh, YouTube radicalizing people, Facebook, it's full of trafficking and stuff. They attacked these sites bitterly and they lost. And then they became part of them and slowly corrupted them with their money over time. The same will eventually happen, I think, for new tech. They're beginning to gain investment. They're beginning to grow again quite significantly. I've seen developments happening on new tech sites behind the scenes that I am extremely excited about. Let's just put it that way. I won't say any more. I think there's going to be a displacement of the censorious legacy media. I think they're making the same mistake again. And another term of Trump would help to hasten their demise. Not that Biden being in there doesn't help too, in a way. I mean, he's so boring that their ratings have all tanked. There's that. That's helpful, I suppose. It's not like Biden has accomplished jack shit, and he'll continue not to. If he accomplishes anything, it'll just be more mass inflation. But I'd rather have a healthy and stable and prosperous United States. To be clear, as a U.S. citizen, that's in my vested interest. So yeah, I'd vote for Trump, and I think he's leaning towards running. I know I hear some people that demoralize, like, well, Trump didn't accomplish everything that I wanted him to do. Yeah, in a term marked by having zero cooperation, often from his own party, certainly no negotiation with the Democrats, and nonstop tidal waves of propaganda about literally everything he said or did by the entire legacy media, getting censored by big tech at every possible step of the way, he didn't manage to accomplish absolutely everything he promised? Oh my goodness, what a goddamn tragedy. See, the problem is we need to work from the ground up. Turning Point USA, actually, this was a big message of several of the people there. It sounded a little bit like me a month ago, talking about specifically employing that kind of plan. Fortify the elections from the ground up. Take over local office. Kick the wokeness out. Get them out of the way, and then you can actually make sure that things are fair, number one, work, number two, and that if there's a second Trump term, he actually has the cooperation of the Republican Party as opposed to being obstructed by his own people. He's got an entire slew of candidates that he's endorsed and campaigning for House and Senate seats. I give you 9-to-1 odds that the majority of them will prevail, primarying out rhinos and or running in generals against Democrats. I think they'll do very, very well, because I think that when you contrast the Trump presidency with what we've got under moron Biden, I think people will think that it's like night and day. And Trump is the sun coming up over the hill, just like back in the 80s with Ronald Reagan, and people will get all feely and nostalgic, and they'll vote for him. I genuinely think that's the likely outcome given the current trajectory. Now that may change. COVID could evolve tomorrow and kill half the population, throwing everything into chaos. There could be a war. Trump could die. Biden could die. We don't know these things. Given the current trajectory, though, I think there's a 90% chance Trump runs. And depending on who his opponent is, I think there's a really good chance that he wins, too, and becomes the next Grover Cleveland. By the way, talk about a goddamn redemption arc. It would be literally like the story of the United States in some ways. That's about all. Peace out.